In the golden light of dawn, the calm of Jerusalem was shattered as 185,000 Assyrian soldiers moved into position. This was not just an army. It was a relentless force, hardened by years of conquest, casting an ominous shadow over the city. Imagine a city whose walls had stood for generations, now trembling under the weight of impending doom. The air thick with tension, the people of Jerusalem felt a deep-seated fear creeping into their hearts, an oppressive sense that defeat was not just possible, but inevitable. This moment marked the beginning of a siege that would test the very faith and resilience of its inhabitants. Before we continue, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on content that can transform your spiritual journey. As the Assyrian forces prepared for the assault, their presence alone was enough to stifle hope. Families gathered in hushed tones, weighing their options, questioning their defense, and contemplating surrender. It was a palpable atmosphere of despair where courage flickered like a dying candle. This was not merely war. It was the battle for identity, belief, and survival. The murmurs of prophecy steeled hope, yet how could they stand against such overwhelming force? Fear clung to the hearts of the citizens, like a chilling fog that refused to lift. Yet, in the face of this daunting reality, a glimmer of hope emerged through the veil of despair. The resolve of the people, their sense of community and spirit, began to awaken. Jerusalem would not go down without a fight. History has taught us that oftentimes it's in the darkest moments that the light of faith shines brightest. They may have been outnumbered, but the layers of resolve began to build. As the people moved closer to the brink of hopelessness, they were challenged to look beyond their circumstances, to find strength in unity and ultimately in their faith. Prophet Isaiah stood as a solitary voice amidst the chaos, warning the people of Jerusalem about the might of the Assyrian Empire. His prophecies were steeped in the historical legacy of devastation that the Assyrians left in their wake. Nations had fallen before them like dominoes, their pride shattered and their spirits crushed. It was not just idle talk. Isaiah's warnings were a clarion call, a stark reminder of the consequences that awaited those who faced such a formidable foe without unwavering faith and preparation. The echoes of Isaiah's words carried weight and urgency. He painted a vivid picture of destruction, illustrating how the Assyrians had ravaged cities, taken captives, and dismantled entire nations with their ruthless strategies. His description served both as a caution and a preparation call for the people of Jerusalem. In times like these, knowledge of the enemy's strength was vital, not to incite despair, but to stir a collective awareness and response within the citizens to rally their faith and goal. In the backdrop of Isaiah's warnings, the citizens faced a critical choice: succumb to fear or find fortitude through faith. He was not merely a prophet issuing dire predictions. He was a guardian spirit, urging them to recognize both the might of their enemy and the power of their God. Each warning was layered with a pastoral intent, calling them to unite in prayer and trust. In a time when devastation loomed large, Isaiah became the voice that reminded them of identity, resilience, and the divine protection promised to those who believe. In the heart of Jerusalem, amid the palpable fear and uncertainty, King Hezekiah emerged as a beacon of hope and integrity. His leadership was characterized not only by his royal position, but by a profound faith that stood as a stark contrast to the looming threat of the Assyrian army. Hezekiah understood the gravity of the moment. The survival of his people depended on his unwavering conviction and ability to inspire courage. As the shadows of despair stretched over the city, he was resolute in his duty to act as a spiritual and moral compass for his people. Hezekiah's approach was grounded in a deep trust in God's divine protection. Rather than succumbing to the terror that gripped his city, he called upon his citizens to remain steadfast in their faith. His integrity shone through in his decision-making. He sought to fortify not only the physical walls of Jerusalem, but also the spirits of its people. He preached hope amidst calamity, reminding them that true strength lies not in their numbers, but in their unity and belief. This was a king who would not allow fear to dictate his leadership. Instead, he chose to embody resilience and faithfulness. As the siege unfolded, King Hezekiah's actions became emblematic of the transformative power of leadership grounded in faith. He initiated prayer and communal gatherings, fostering a sense of togetherness and reliance on the Almighty. His resolve united the city, providing them with a collective purpose to stand firm against the might of Assyria. In a world filled with uncertainty, Hezekiah's faith illuminated a path through the darkness. His legacy was not merely about defending Jerusalem, it was about instilling a belief that with unwavering dedication to God, they could withstand any storm. In a defining moment of leadership, King Hezekiah boldly reassured the citizens of Jerusalem to rise above their fears and embrace faith. His message was clear. Strength would not come from the might of their foes, but through their unwavering trust in God's protection. As anxiety and despair gripped the hearts of many, Hezekiah stood before them, embodying the courage he urged his people to adopt. His words resonated with a powerful truth. When faced with overwhelming odds, faith has the extraordinary ability to conquer fear. Hezekiah reminded the people that they were not alone in this struggle. They had a divine ally watching over them, encouraging them to focus not on the vast number of Assyrian soldiers camped at their gates, but on the grace and promise of their God. He instilled a renewed spirit within the city. His calls for bravery were infused with hope, as he emphasized that God's presence was a shield, protecting them from the dangers that loomed. Together, they would stand strong as a community unified by belief, not division born from dread. As the citizens absorbed his empowering message, a shift began to occur within Jerusalem. Eyes once clouded with fear began to brighten with a flicker of hope. People leaned on each other, finding strength in their shared faith that together they could withstand any siege. Hezekiah's proclamation resonated deeply. Faith over fear became their mantra. Amidst the palpable tension, the power of collective belief flowed through the streets, reminding them that even the darkest night will give way to the dawn, as long as one maintains faith in the promise of protection and salvation. The Assyrian envoy Rabshakeh orchestrated a sophisticated campaign of psychological warfare aimed directly at undermining the morale of Jerusalem's inhabitants. His presence, cloaked in arrogance and contempt, was designed to instill fear and hopelessness among the people. He spoke with a voice that echoed through the walls, taunting the citizens with vivid tales of the Assyrians' brutal victories over other nations, claiming that their gods had failed to protect them. This strategy was intended not only to intimidate, but to sow division and confusion within the ranks of those defending their home. Rabshakeh's words were crafted to strike at the heart of Jerusalem's spirit. He dismissed their king's credibility and belittled their faith, challenging the very essence of what made the people strong. By proclaiming the futility of resisting such a formidable army, he aimed to appeal to their fears and doubts, hoping to dismantle the unity that King Hezekiah had worked so hard to cultivate. The psychological pressure was immense, creating an atmosphere where despair threatened to overshadow hope. However, beneath the surface of Rabshakeh's intimidation lay the underlying truth that real strength comes from within. While his words were meant to demoralize, they inadvertently galvanized the people of Jerusalem. His tactics served as a stark reminder of what was at stake: their homes, their families, and their faith. Instead of crumbling under pressure, the citizens were pushed to confront their fears, spurring them to dig deeper into their beliefs and lean into their collective strength. As the taunts echoed through the air, a resilient spirit began to rise amongst them, countering the attempts to instill fear with an unwavering commitment to their cause. The Assyrians, in their arrogance, crossed a perilous line as they openly blasphemed God, challenging his ability to save his people from their grasp. Rabshakeh, emboldened by his successes in battle, audaciously mocked the Almighty, proclaiming that no god had been able to thwart the Assyrians in their relentless pursuit of conquest. This act of defiance was not just a strategic maneuver, it was a direct affront to divine authority, one that reverberated through the very fabric of the spiritual beliefs held by the people of Jerusalem. In their attempts to fortify their position and instill fear in the hearts of the inhabitants, the Assyrians sought to diminish the significance of God's power. They questioned the validity of the faith that had guided generations, attempting to weaken the bond between God and his people. This bold challenge was more than mere rhetoric. It stirred a defense mechanism within the hearts of the citizens, pushing them to reflect on the depth of their own convictions. The Assyrians unwittingly invoked a primal truth. The battle was not simply physical, but deeply spiritual in nature. As the Assyrian blasphemy echoed through Jerusalem, it provoked a fierce response among the faithful. This was a divine challenge that called for a reaffirmation of their beliefs and trust in God's protective embrace. The moment presented an opportunity for the people of Jerusalem to rally together, strengthening their faith in what their God was capable of. Rather than succumbing to fear, they were reminded that true power lies in the divine and that no earthly army could stand against the will of God. This confrontation became a catalyst for their collective hope, igniting a fervent desire to seek divine intervention against the impending threat. In the depths of despair, King Hezekiah demonstrated a profound humility by turning to prayer in his time of need. Faced with overwhelming odds and the intimidating presence of the Assyrian Empire, he recognized that human strength alone was insufficient. Hezekiah's choice to seek divine guidance was not merely a political maneuver. It was an act of faith that signified his dependence on God's intervention. This moment became a pivotal turning point, where he chose to place his trust not in the military might of his nation, but in the divine assurance of protection and deliverance. Hezekiah's prayer was a heartfelt expression of vulnerability, acknowledging the stark reality of their situation while holding on to the hope that God would answer. He laid before the Lord not only the threat from the Assyrians, but also the blasphemy they had uttered against the authority of God. It was a powerful moment of connection, where the king poured out his fears, grief, and desires for his people. This act of seeking divine guidance revealed his deep understanding that the battle ahead was ultimately a spiritual one, and he could not fight it alone. As he fervently prayed, Hezekiah became a symbol of reliance on divine power, inspiring his people to unite in their faith. This was not simply a ritual of desperation. It was a lifeline that connected him and the people of Jerusalem to their Creator. By seeking God in their darkest hour, they collectively ignited a flame of hope that transcended their circumstances. Hezekiah's humility and prayer served as a reminder for all that when faced with insurmountable challenges, turning to God is the greatest strength one can exhibit. It solidified their belief that with divine support, they could face any enemy, no matter how formidable. In a moment of divine clarity, Prophet Isaiah delivered a powerful promise to the people of Jerusalem, proclaiming that the Assyrians would not conquer their city. This assurance came bravely amidst the darkest hour, resonating like a clarion call of hope against the pervasive fear that gripped the inhabitants. Isaiah, as the mouthpiece of God, reaffirmed that Jerusalem was under divine protection and that the threat posed by the Assyrians would ultimately be extinguished. His words instilled a renewed sense of purpose and faith, echoing the sentiment that no earthly power could usurp God's sovereignty. Isaiah's prophetic assurance set the stage for a miraculous deliverance, igniting a flicker of hope within the hearts of the fearful citizens. It was a reminder that they were not simply at the mercy of their circumstances. They were part of a larger narrative authored by God. The angels of heaven were poised to intervene on their behalf, transforming despair into a triumphant testament of divine power. This promise rekindled the belief that with synchronized faith and profound trust, they could withstand any siege thrown upon them. The confirmation of God's promise through Isaiah marked a transformative moment for the people of Jerusalem. It galvanized their spirit, fostering unity as they rallied around the hope that their city would be spared. Isaiah's proclamation reminded them of a fundamental truth, that faith can pierce through the veil of fear and anxiety, and in surrendering to divine will, they could embrace tranquility even in tumultuous times. This prophetic assurance was the lifeblood that infused strength and resilience into their hearts, setting the anticipation for a miraculous deliverance that would soon unfold. In a spectacular demonstration of divine power, the angel of the Lord intervened on behalf of Jerusalem, striking down the Assyrian forces in a single night. This miraculous act was a clear testament to God's unmatched authority over earthly might and military prowess. As dawn broke, the once mighty Assyrian camp lay in ruins, a somber reminder of the fragility of human strength when pitted against the divine. The soldiers who had come to instill fear had become victims of the very wrath they had mocked. The swift and decisive nature of this intervention reverberated throughout Jerusalem, transforming despair into jubilation. The citizens awoke to the undeniable evidence of God's protection, their faith having been vindicated in the most dramatic of fashions. Stories of the angelic strike began to spread, igniting a fervor of praise and gratitude. It was a moment where human understanding faltered in the face of divine action, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of the people who had witnessed firsthand the fulfillment of God's promise through Isaiah. God's intervention served not only as a rescue, but as a powerful reminder of his sovereignty, reinforcing the belief that faith can move mountains. The victory over the Assyrians was more than just military. It signified a profound spiritual triumph that underscored the importance of reliance on divine power. The people of Jerusalem emerged from this episode not just as survivors, but as witnesses to a miraculous deliverance that would echo through generations. In their collective memory, this event became a cornerstone of their identity, a potent reminder that with faith, any adversary could be overcome. As dawn broke over Jerusalem, the light revealed the shocking aftermath of the Assyrian siege, a desolate camp filled with devastation, confirming the prophecy delivered by Isaiah. The once formidable army that threatened to subjugate the city now lay defeated, a haunting testament to the power of divine intervention. The sight of countless soldiers struck down in a single night instilled both awe and gratitude in the hearts of the Jerusalemites, serving as a pivotal reminder of the protection that their faith had secured. This moment was not just a victory against an enemy, it was a profound realization of God's faithfulness to his promises. The people emerged from their homes, eyes wide with disbelief, as they surveyed the evidence of their deliverance. It was a narrative of hope that echoed through the city, a visible confirmation that no force could stand against their God. This triumph over the Assyrians became a moment of collective worship, where gratitude flowed freely as the citizens acknowledged the Lord's extraordinary hand in their miraculous survival. The aftermath of this victory forged a deeper bond among the people of Jerusalem, solidifying their faith and reinforcing their identity as a community reliant on divine protection. They gathered together to recount the events, sharing their experiences of fear transformed into hope and despair into joy. This victory became etched in their history, a story of God's unmatched power and love that would be passed down through generations. The defeat of the Assyrian forces served as both a warning against pride and a celebration of faith, forever reminding them that, in moments of dire need, God's promise and sovereignty would prevail. In a dramatic turn of fate, Sennacherib, the mighty king of Assyria, succumbed to the very pride that had propelled him to power, leading to his humiliating fall. After facing catastrophic defeat at the hands of a God-favored Jerusalem, his once untouchable status was irrevocably shattered. The audacity with which he had mocked both the Israelites and their God now became the fulcrum that turned the tides against him, unraveling the strength and stability of his own reign. The shadows of defeat loomed large over Sennacherib, and in a twist that marked the end of an era, he returned to Nineveh only to find himself isolated and vulnerable. His sons, driven by a mix of vengeance and ambition, plotted against him in the dark halls of power, culminating in an assassination that would seal his fate. This act of betrayal sent shockwaves through the empire, illustrating the fragility of power when it becomes intertwined with pride and arrogance. The king who had once threatened kingdoms now met a tragic end at the hands of those closest to him. Sennacherib's fall not only signified the collapse of Assyrian dominance, but also served as a poignant lesson in the consequences of hubris. The very pride that had fueled his campaigns became his ultimate undoing, leaving a void in power that many would seek to fill. For the people of Jerusalem, his demise represented a clear affirmation that divine justice prevails and that no one, regardless of earthly might, could stand against the will of God. This turning point in history would be remembered not merely as the end of a king, but as a testament that humility and faith ultimately triumph over pride and arrogance. The unfolding events of Jerusalem's deliverance serve as a powerful lesson in faith, emphasizing the indispensable role of prayer, humility, and trust in God's promises during overwhelming trials. Through the trials faced by King Hezekiah and the citizens, it became evident that true strength is not found in the might of armies, but in the depth of one's faith. They rallied together, turning to prayer as their first line of defense, demonstrating that when humans humble themselves and seek divine intervention, extraordinary outcomes can arise from seemingly impossible situations. This story revealed that prayer is not merely a ritual, but a profound connection to the divine, one that fortifies the spirit in moments of despair. Hezekiah's humility in seeking God's guidance was a testament to the power of recognizing one's limitations in the face of greater challenges. As the faithful called upon God, they experienced the transformative strength that comes from surrendering to a higher purpose. The citizens of Jerusalem learned that when faced with insurmountable odds, placing their trust in God was the most potent weapon they possessed. Ultimately, the tale of Jerusalem's miraculous deliverance and the fall of Sennacherib reinforces the timeless truth that faith can transcend fear. It teaches us that in the great tapestry of life, challenges serve as opportunities to deepen our reliance on divine promises. The episode serves as a reminder that enduring faith, combined with earnest prayer and humility, can lead to deliverance in the darkest of hours. As modern believers reflect on this story, they find encouragement to embrace their own trials with the assurance that strong faith will guide them through any storm. This historical account serves as a timeless reminder that true strength lies in faith, offering hope and assurance to those facing their own challenges today. The narrative of Jerusalem's deliverance from the might of the Assyrians continues to resonate, emphasizing that faith can indeed move mountains. In a world often filled with uncertainty and adversity, the story instills a vital lesson. When individuals place their trust in a higher power, they tap into an unyielding source of strength that transcends circumstances and empowers them to face their trials with courage and resilience. The journey of King Hezekiah and the citizens showcases the transformative impact of collective faith and prayer. Just as they turned to God for guidance and strength, individuals today can draw from this well of reassurance, understanding that they too are not alone in their struggles. The act of humbling oneself, seeking divine intervention, and believing in the promises of God creates a pathway for hope to flourish amidst chaos. This account reminds us that God's protection is not a relic of the past, but a living reality that offers comfort and assurance in the present. As modern believers reflect on the lessons from this historical moment, they are encouraged to embrace their challenges with renewed faith. The narrative serves as a beacon of hope, guiding individuals through their own crises, inspiring them to rise above fear and despair. In recognizing that true strength comes from an unwavering faith in God, they can navigate life's storms with the confidence that deliverance is always within reach. Ultimately, this powerful reminder encourages everyone to hold fast to their faith, for it is the anchor that steadies them in the tumultuous waters of life.